run a acting school,
Mm.
right? And I'm sure you're training your students to eventually, work in Hollywood,
Yeah.
right? So they're gonna bring with them their characters, their stories, to Hollywood, right? And what is your desire for them when you teach these young actors and actresses?
Is that the truth is, I know that where we are in the market right now, purely from a show business standpoint, nothing to do with talent, just the business aspect of things, they don't have a hope in hell in making it in Hollywood. And that's purely from a business standpoint, nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with training. It's purely the business aspect and the lay of the land.
Because you yourself went to Hollywood as well to
Correct. And
to
I
try-
played your full range of terrorists, taco salespeople, IT guys, you name it.
Yeah.
Anyone on the fringes of society who's remotely brown and with a beard,
Yeah.
that would be me.
Right.
I can't. I've died more times than I care to think about on screen. And I'm fully aware that we're still in the age of tokenism / minor roles, unless it's an Asian specific movie, right, or an ethnic specific movie. What I'm hoping is that several things will happen. Is that as your studios begin to seek for stories in the East, as your streaming services go, we've got lots of money, we just need to keep churning out content, like your Always Be My Maybe, that they'll begin to look for uncharted markets, like your Malaysia, like your China, like your Japan, like your Indonesia, like your Southeast Asian region. Can we give these people... Because a big movie in this part of the world is about $1 million to make, which is not even close to an independent film. Like, you can shit that much in a day, if not more, on a major tentpole, right? If we can give enough of these people $1 million here, $1 million there, $1 million here, which for us is big money, let's just see what content can come out of here.
Yeah.
And with the actors that I'm training, in a way, I'm training them for the long game. And I'm fully aware that most of them will not last the long game. So if they don't end up lasting the long game for when those opportunities arise, at least what I am developing is a more discerning audience, where when they watch TV, when they watch local TV especially, when they watch TV, when they watch films, when they watch plays, they go, yeah, no, my barometer of bullshit is high. I don't want to be fed a diet of bullshit. I want to be challenged. I want to think about things. I want my life reflected a little bit. That you have a more discerning audience. And a discerning audience ultimately has the power to tell the studios, don't feed us bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
You want my money, you want me to part in my $13 or my $10, whatever, for your streaming service, you better give me content that I desire.
Yeah.
That comes from a discerning audience. And then for those that last the long game, for when that wave does hit, now we're cooking with gas. Where if Netflix, because they already have a Singapore office and APAC office, it's only a matter of time before they create their original content arm, development arm within Southeast Asia. You've got Hook in Southeast Asia. You've got, I think, is it iFlix, I think, which is an Indonesian streaming platform, which is now also developing original content. You've got your Apple TV streaming, whatever the hell it's called these days. Your Disney Plus, all of that stuff. It's now giving us an opportunity to say, we have a voice. It's time for us to be heard.
Yeah.
But it's not just the visibility thing that I talked about earlier, but we have the training and the ability to harness the stories in a way that makes sense, and the way that it's alive, that people go, damn, why have we not seen these guys on TV or on screens before?
Yeah.
That's the long game.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling another guest on this on this podcast before, but when I was going through Netflix the other day, I watched a movie with all Filipino content. Right?
Okay.
And it was shot in Barcelona, but it went back and forth between Philippines and Barcelona. But it was an all Filipino cast. So I thought, wow. So then maybe Netflix is like creating content in Southeast Asia as well. I mean, my wife is South American, so on my Netflix we have tons of like Spanish
Money Heist kind of thing.
Loads of Spanish ones,
Yeah.
Colombian ones, whatever it is, loads of them in there, and but they're all created in those countries, right?
Yep.
In South America, and so I think there's going to be more and more Netflix content being created in Southeast Asia and all different parts of the world, right? For sure. And they're the ones that had the money to actually go out there and create it, because everybody who's living in there doesn't always want to see Hollywood stuff, right? Obviously, or they want to hear something in their own language. And more as people get wealthier in this region, or Latin America, wherever it is, they are going to buy into this subscription, right? And then you have to create content to serve them.
Correct.
You're not just thinking about white Americans only anymore, right?
It's sort of like the previous way of the previous way we looked at. Now let's just talk Singapore, right? Island of 5.5 million people, where the previous way we used to look at content creation on this island, it was firstly made by Singapore, and then made for Singapore, and then now we're looking towards made with Singapore, where it would be almost so myopic and so idiotic and so tunnel vision to think, oh, an audience of 5.5 million people is more than enough for me to sustain myself. It's not. One has to really look overseas and figure out, how can I create stories that have resonance globally, and not just for around the dinner table, not just for my neighbor next door, but for that person 10,000 miles away who's never been to Singapore, where even if I've never been there, I'm still being told a story with such universal themes that I go, my God, I don't know these people. These people are not even my color. These people don't even speak my language, but they speak here.
Yeah.
And that is something that we need to consider. And I think, which is what America is beginning to consider.
Right.
You can't only rely on the middle of America to buy into your bullshit Transformer films and your both coasts to only buy into your award-winning films. You've got to look at the international market. And I mean, by international, I mean the brown people market, right? The people who don't look like your white Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where the key is, where eventually, at a certain point, Taka, everyone's going to look like you or me, right?
Yeah.
And to think that
There's more of us, actually.
more of us. There's more of us, right? And our children and our children's children are going to look even more browner and more olive-skinned.
Yes.
That to only produce content which is single serving for a specific ethnic group or gender or person of ability, that is a very, very short pier that they're walking off of. Yeah.
Future Design Podcast.